we just want to talk about how the gospel of Jesus Christ has helped us through the 2.5 years. And this is why I'm a pretty big advocate, especially in this online TikTok community, to talk and address this, is that oftentimes we can cast a lot of blame on the church or Christianity or, Mormonism, whatever you want to cast blame on. And for us, we just chose, a lot of people choose to leave the church, and they kind of believe that it's the church that caused this. And our experience has been such that, that the church has actually blessed us a lot. And we decided the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah. We chose instead to really lean into it. And we've had to completely deconstruct our knowledge and our testimonies of the gospel and start to relearn and one of the first ones was, what does love mean? Right. Yeah. And what is truth? And,
when you are the type of person that takes the command to turn the other cheek, for example, that's a big one in all of Christianity, right? And so you spend your whole life turning the other cheek. And so then you kind of interpret that as, let anybody do anything they want to you without consequence. And that's not it at all. Christ made many, many commandments. And, he tells us to be wise like a serpent and to not cast our pearls before swine. And
that the truth will cut like a sword, and right. It's like,
yeah. And he says to speak the truth and be brave. And he makes all kinds of commands. And I think Satan has done a really good job of helping Christians focus on one commandment, which is turn the other cheek. And if you study the gospel of Jesus Christ, it really feels conflicting. There's one command to do one thing and one command that feels the very opposite of it. Like, for example, justice and mercy. Like, we'll just take those. Christ is both perfectly just and perfectly merciful. It's our job as human beings to do our best to find the center and incorporate both of those things. But because we're human, we'll always be leaning probably on one side or the other a little too much. But they're conflicting commandments, and our job is to wrestle to incorporate both of them to find middle ground. So if we're always merciful or turning the other cheek, we're really highly off balance. But if we're always justice and operating with no mercy or no forgiveness, then again, it runs amok.
And you can see how that tool, that teaching, that gospel truth can be such an amazing blessing, but it can also be used to weaponize in these emotional environments. Because take love, for example, it's often thrown in our face that we're just not being loving and kind. And all we're doing is bringing up truth and facts, and it makes people uncomfortable. And therefore that is then used as not being loving. And you're like,
yeah, well, and I've had
what? So I'm just supposed to do nothing but express gratitude, even though somebody has done something that has caused a lot of heartache and pain? Like, that just doesn't make sense. But Ashley's mom is kind of like, she doesn't want to have a conversation at all unless it's nothing but sweet and loving.
Feel good words.
And you're like, well, then we're making no progress, because that is just not life. And that is not the way the Savior lived his life either. He called out the Sadducees and the Pharisees. He went and cleansed the temple and flipped things upside down. He had the hard conversations, and so should we.
Well, and he said, people will hate you.
Yeah.
They will hate you for being a follower of me, because the truth cuts like a sword. And those who don't want to live in truth, which I always say is Jesus. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the light. So those who don't want to address the truth, it will cut them like a sword, and they will never like it. You will make enemies being a follower of Jesus Christ. And it was really hard for me to deconstruct that, because I just felt like, well, if I'm following the gospel, then I should just be perfectly happy That was just a childlike teaching.